What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. When I first did my first video on YouTube, I didn't have any subscribers, and now I have a little bit. So I kind of wanted to go over why I started this channel 2 years ago, or 1 year ago. 2021, I think I did my first video. I did that video when I was pregnant with my daughter. I just found out that I was high risk, and I was told I might lose my daughter, and I just went through a whole lot, and I decided, let me start a channel to kind of help other women that are dealing with a high-risk pregnancy and cervical insufficiency. So that's kind of the purpose of my channel, was to encourage women, to kind of give them some hope during a challenging pregnancy, to also kind of just have an uplifting, positive channel. My first video was about my pregnancy. In August of 2021, I had a miscarriage. 2 months later, we got pregnant again. We were advised to try to get pregnant again, and the doctor told me if we had 3 more miscarriages that she would have to do surgery to remove fibroids, because that's something that I had that they thought might have caused my first miscarriage. I got pregnant again in November, and the pregnancy was great. Things were going well. We found out it was a girl, but I kept my pregnancy quiet a little longer than usual. I know a lot of couples might announce that they're pregnant at around 12 weeks. I waited around 16 weeks just because I was nervous to have another miscarriage. I wasn't sure if the fibroids would be a problem, and I didn't really know a lot about all of that. I just wanted to make sure that this baby was going to stick. Things were great. 16 weeks came. We had a gender reveal, found out it was a girl. Things were going well. And then at 21 weeks, I started having some discomfort, some cramping, and I thought it might be maybe a bladder infection. So my husband brought me to the hospital. This was Sunday, March 28th, 2021. We go to the hospital. I'm thinking we'll go get checked out, get some antibiotics for a bladder infection. Turns out I was having contractions, and I asked the doctor why, and she told me we don't know why. And she asked me how far along I was. I told her I was 23 weeks because I thought that I was, because my last doctor appointment, I had seen 2 different doctors because I changed OBGYNs. One doctor said one amount of weeks, the next doctor said a different amount of weeks. So when I went to my last doctor, he told me I was 23 weeks. So I told the doctor that, I told the nurse that. They said, okay, if you're 23 weeks and you go into labor tonight because you're having contractions, if you go into labor, we can airlift your baby to a hospital that specializes in premature or preemie care or premature infant care. They were going to give me a steroid shot, do all kind of things, and everything was going so fast. And they were saying they were going to airlift the baby here, do this. And then they come back after a few minutes of talking to my OB, and they say, you're actually 21 weeks pregnant. And at 21 weeks, we don't do any resuscitative measures. No airlifting, no steroid shot, no nothing. You pretty much give birth, and the baby takes their last few breaths, and that's it. There's no resuscitation. There's no life-saving measures given at 21 weeks because it's a waste of resources. That's what I was told. So at this point, they're preparing me to go into labor that night, preparing me to say goodbye, that they weren't going to save this child's life. So all night long, I kept coming back to do cervical checks, and cervical checks, or I don't know if it's a cervical check or whatever it was, when they measure the cervix to see how many centimeters dilated you are, they kept doing that. It's very painful. I had not dilated at all. My cervix had shortened, but I had not had any dilation at that point. So they checked me all night long. That was the longest night, and I had no dilation all night long. So by 7 a.m. that next morning, they had me transported to another hospital that specializes in premature care of premature infants. I was sent there by ambulance, and I was admitted into that hospital. And I was there for about 3 days where they monitored everything, and I did not dilate. There were so many prayers going up. Guys, God is real. My whole family prayed. You know, I was praying. The night I was in the hospital and they told me that I would lose my baby, my sister-in-law sent me a text message, and she said, I don't know why this is happening, but I know God is real. God is with you, and the whole family is praying. And that gave me the hope that I needed to keep going, because I really told my husband, I don't know how I'm going to survive this if this baby doesn't make it. I don't think I'm going to survive. But getting that text message from her, knowing that everybody was praying, it gave me the strength to pray. And it gave me the hope that I needed, the faith that I needed to stay strong. So that whole night, I knew that my family was praying and I was praying. And I didn't dilate at all. So I'm in the next hospital, no dilation, and I got sent home. And we had a doctor appointment the next week, and my cervix had shortened even more. I still hadn't dilated, but my cervix had still shortened. It went from however many centimeters it was that was normal to 1.6 centimeters that night at the hospital when they told me that I would lose her. It shortened to 0.8 of a centimeter. That's all the cervix I had left. So they rushed me back to the hospital that day. They told me to go straight to the hospital from that appointment I went into. I went into the OB appointment just to get checked again, see where my cervix was at. It had shortened even further. Hadn't dilated. They told me to rush to the hospital immediately, grab some clothes, and go right to the hospital. We had to get an emergency cerclage, and the surgery was high risk because my cervix was so short. I barely had any cervix left at 0.8. That was, it's barely any cervix left to even put the cerclage on. But the doctor I had was amazing. The surgery went well, and I got sent home again after the surgery. I stayed in the hospital, I think a day after the surgery. Then I got sent home again. I did have some contractions after the cerclage placement, but she never came early. I never had any extreme complications after I got the cerclage placed, and that's how I know that. I just want to tell you guys that God is real. Prayers work, because that night, my cervix had shortened so much, but I did not dilate. And even the next week when I went back to get checked again, I was down to 0.8 centimeters of a cervix left. I hadn't dilated yet, and the surgery was very high risk, but it worked. And that is because I know that God heard me. He heard my family's prayers, and he saved our baby's life. I really thought that I was going to have another miscarriage, or it's not a miscarriage at a certain number of weeks, but after the first miscarriage, when you go through another difficult pregnancy, or you go through a difficult pregnancy after you've lost one, you feel like, oh, I was so dumb for thinking this baby would be different, or I feel so stupid for announcing the pregnancy, all those things. And I remember telling God, like, why did you even let it get this far if it was gonna not make it again? And I just kept the faith. My family kept the faith. And the one thing I said that night in the hospital when we thought we were going to lose our baby was, they put us in a room with the little baby bed that the baby goes in after you give birth. And I told my husband, like, I just want to see my baby in that bed. I don't want to have to be in a room with a little bed for a new baby or not have a baby to put into it. And so July 28th, 2021, I go into labor at 39 weeks and 6 days, almost 40 weeks. My baby made it, y'all. She made it almost to 40 weeks. She was healthy, pretty much full term. Everything was fine. And I had so much fear that she would be born with something wrong because of all the medications I had during my pregnancy, the surgeries, the constant contractions, the frequent hospital visits. It was not an easy pregnancy by any means. It was hard, but God still brought her here, safe, healthy, 100% healthy and strong. And my worst fear was that something was going to go wrong during birth, or she would have some kind of something wrong with her, and she didn't. And I thank God every single day for my daughter. So that being said, this channel was just supposed to be an encouragement to other women. An encouragement, if you have any questions about cerclage placement or cervical insufficiency, I wanted to be able to help other moms by educating them on that. I don't know everything, but I do know some. If you have any questions, you can always comment me and I can try to answer as best I can. I also wanted to encourage women to believe, families just to trust, pray, and believe that God hears you and he does answer your prayers. I don't know why losses happen. I went through a loss myself, but I do know that God does hear us. He does answer our prayers. Not always the way you expect, but he does come through. So I wanted to just kind of go over that again and tell you why I made this channel, to be encouraging and to be uplifting. And it also helped me to, going through that difficult pregnancy last year, trying to help other women and making videos was a way for me to not be focused on myself and what I was going through. And it gave me a bigger purpose because I was on bed rest. So doing videos and trying to encourage other women was helpful to me. So I hope that this channel is uplifting and encouraging, and I hope that the people who do like it and do watch it really get something out of it, because I really get something out of making the videos and helping other people, being encouraging, and getting my mind off of myself. So I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was encouraging, and I wanted to just reintroduce myself to people that maybe didn't see my first video. My name is Danica. I'm from Louisiana, moved to California with my husband. I met my husband online. We long distance dated for 2 years before I moved to California. It's tough. I miss my family, and going through what I went through last year without my family here was very, very difficult. You know, you're going through a traumatic experience in a whole new state, pretty much newly married with no family that you're used to nearby. It was very hard, and it made it more traumatic, but you know, I'm still here. You know, we're still married. It was difficult, but we made it through, and we're still making it. But I hope that this channel can help other people going through the same difficulties that I went through and sometimes still go through. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will be back with more videos. Bye.